Just because you're quiet doesn't mean you can't also be powerful. Join award-winning authors, activists, and confirmed introverts Lisa Hurley and Sharon Hurley Hall as they explore introversion, workplace culture, self-care, and much more. Each episode of the Introvert Sisters Live, which is the evolution of their original Anthem Award-winning podcast, blends thoughtful conversation, insightful analysis, and practical strategies through an intersectional lens. Created especially for those quiet souls who are so often overlooked and underestimated, the Introvert Sisters Live provides a serene space where neurodivergence is normalized, nuance is celebrated, depth is welcome, and introversion is honored as a strength. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Introvert Sisters podcast. And
welcome.
And today this is episode 7. We're 7 episodes into season 1. And today we're discussing extroverted masking, why it harms introverts and needs to stop now.
Now.
Let it stop. And so, sis, I'm going to throw a question out to you. So when did you first realize that being outgoing, right? In other words, extroverted masking or pretending to be outgoing was actually you performing in order to belong? When did you first realize that?
That was actually quite a late realization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've said it many times on the show before. You know, you grow up in certain cultures, you learn to do what is expected of you socially, even if it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment.
Yes.
So you just do these things, and then you know, when you find yourself in the same situation, you turn it on again. And you don't actually ever stop to ask yourself if this is something that comes naturally to you. After a while, right? You may feel a little off, but you just keep going. And I think it is really, I think two things happened at once. You know, I think part of it is I got to a certain age, and I certainly, you know, you get to a certain age. We all know what kind of age that is, and you start to realize that certain things just don't suit you.
Yes.
And you start to question the things that you have taken for granted, even about yourself. So I want to say that I was probably in my 50s before before I realized the full extent of it. What about you?
I think the realization started growing gradually. I didn't have language for it. I think the realization started growing probably in my 30s, which coincidentally coincided with when I moved to the United States. I think in Barbados in general, I think is not as extroverted of a culture. So I was not as aware of not fitting in. You know what I mean?
Right.
Once I moved to the United States, apparently all of a sudden everything was quote unquote wrong with me. And so that's when I started realizing, I'm different, and I have to start showing up differently in order to be respected, in order to be taken seriously. So yeah, in my 30s, not even so much at school. You know, I did a master's at NYU in my 30s, and I fit in school. Education is something I know. You know, academia is something I'm familiar with. It's an environment that I'm familiar with navigating. So I know how to, you know, raise my hand and speak and contribute to a conversation. And especially if it's something that I'm interested in, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be locked in, right?
Yeah.
Once I moved to corporate, and frankly, I'm like, I'm not interested.
But you've actually reminded me that when I moved to England, and I was at work, and then the people would start having these, let's all go down to the pub.
Yes.
Let's do this. And, you know, sometimes that was fun. But you know, there were times when you were sort of sitting at your desk hoping nobody was going to suggest anything social. having
Yeah,
opted out the last time and feeling that you might need to opt in this time, right?
yeah, because you don't want to participate in my favorite thing my favorite term, the unhappy hours. You
The
don't
unhappy hours. No, no, no to the unhappy
know
hours.
to the unhappy hours. So I think once I moved into corporate, I realized, oh, I have to put on a different personality in order to
Hmm.
be taken seriously, even though I've been doing this work, writing and presenting, and even in some cases, performing live on stage. Right? I know how
Hmm.
to perform live on stage and sell the performance and smile and do jazz hands and do all of that. I
Yeah,
literally do know how to perform and enjoy it because that is the job that's required at the time. But after the job,
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
be done, right? And
Absolutely.
so that's when I realized, oh, I'm gonna have to actually, just show up differently if in fact I want to be taken seriously. If I have certain goals for my career, then I'm going to have to pretend to be outgoing. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you do what you have to do at the time. But when
Yeah,
you get to the stage where you no longer have to do that, then that is a great day.
it
And
is.
I think the realization, the thing, for us is to realize that that is what we're doing. And I mean, I know it may sound strange to people that you could not realize it, but if you bear in mind that people didn't talk about introversion when we were growing up,
Yeah,
if they
it's
talked about
amazing.
our personality type or any of the things that showed up as part of our personality type, it had a kind of negative tone to it,
Yes.
a
Yeah.
negative and critical tone, right?
Yep.
So you did what would shield you from the criticism. You showed up the way you were supposed to show up,
Mhm.
and if you wondered why every time you did that, you ended up wanting to lie in a dark room and nursing a headache, well, that was just seemed to be the price you had to pay at the
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. I do remember. Okay, I'm gonna partially go back on what I said before about the difference between Barbados and the US. The one
Mhm.
time where I felt like I had to not be myself, or I felt like I almost was lacking in Barbados, is when I had to give island tours. And as part of that, I very much enjoyed it, but I felt like I had to be the happy Negro. Don't know how else. You know exactly what I mean.
Yeah, and you did.
Right? I felt like I had to be
Yes.
the happy Negro, and that is not who I am. Now, conversely, I had also previously been a tour guide for the Barbados Museum.
Mhm.
Very different vibe, right? Very
Yes.
different context. And so there, it's more informative, or not more informative, but more intellectual. It's a quieter context. And
Mhm.
therefore, I did not feel like I had to perform. I could be pleasant without having to shuck and jive, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Mhm.
Other than those specific contexts, definitely the difference was Barbados, I could be myself, and in the US, I had to put on an act essentially. But it is exhausting. It's exhausting
Oh my
since
gosh.
the extroverted masking. So, what do you think? Because you said you didn't realize until in your 50s, right? So, what do you think all of those years and decades of extroverted masking took away from you, like over the years, over time?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, there was the question of my sense of self, right? Um, the the knowledge of who I was intrinsically. And again, so some people are born knowing who they are. Some people, depending on the context in which you grow up,
Hmm.
um, may take a while to actually figure out what is the stuff that is culturally expected and what is the stuff that is actually your preference, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, and so I think it probably took me longer to tune into that,
Hmm.
right? I think spent a lot of time exhausted while at the same time being slated for not showing up to enough stuff. Because even the things I showed up to were never enough in an extroverted world, right?
Yes.
You know?
You're
You
supposed to
know,
do all the things.
you're supposed to do all the things all the time. My desire to leave early or not go at all, you know, was not met with approval,
Yes.
right? It's so exhausting.
Hmm.
And as Shauna is saying here, extroverted masking is exhausting.
Hmm.
Um, and we have a comment here from Flying Kitten Power. I can't remember who Flying Kitten Power is, but welcome back. I know
Love the
you're
name.
a regular. Yes, I went to an unhappy hour at a bar in grad school exactly once. I did connect with two other people with shared interests. As for me, I survived and learned not to torture myself with that
Ah,
again. And I think for sure that is, yeah, you spend a lot of time, if not actively unhappy, just
mhm.
generally kind of unsettled and not feeling good in your skin because you're
Yeah.
not doing what comes naturally to you and what suits you. And what about you, sis?
But yeah, it plays into so many things. And I was actually discussing this with my therapist recently, talking about jobs and job fit and
Hmm.
how there are some ways in which I wish I were a librarian
Oh my
because,
God.
right?
What
Can
was
you,
the perfect job?
first of all, working surrounded by books. That's number one.
My best
Second,
job ever was in a bookshop.
right? That
Yeah,
too. Second of
right.
all, in general, libraries are quiet. That is part of the whole point. So
Yes.
there is, you're actively supposed to maintain quiet, hushed tones. Absolutely love
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
If you're a librarian, and of course, I know that there's people study to be librarian, there are library science degrees and so on. So uh, this is not to minimize at all
No,
what goes into it. It is a real job,
it
and
is a
there's
real job.
it's a real job. There's real science and study behind it. Part of it is customer service, but of course, is customer service in terms of people helping people do research and find what they're
Yes.
looking for, as opposed
And
to, yes, go
it's
ahead.
in a quiet environment.
It's in
It's
a
in a
quiet,
quiet
yes,
environment. And so I feel like as an introvert, you wouldn't have to mask as much in that setting
that's right.
because, basically you're hiding the constant depletion that you are facing, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sure you have stories to tell
Oh my
of
God.
times when you were showing up, at work when inside you were exhausted.
So many stories, girl. I don't even know. That would be like a 3-hour documentary. Okay. Seriously. A mini series. I mean, I definitely remember I've worked in not in retail, but in like e-commerce companies, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And so doing, I'm a professional writer. I write for a living, doing a lot of marketing copy, presentations, and not only creating the presentations, but also sometimes delivering them,
Mhm.
which are two different skills, right?
Yes.
One is research, content creation, content curation, story arcs, all of that stuff, marketing, and so on. The other is the art of oratory, the art of being able to convince others, presentation, and so on, body
Yeah.
language, all of it.
Yeah.
And I've, although I can present, but I would never tell anybody that presenting is my strongest skill. I would never say that. Even as we are here doing this, of the two of us, because bear in mind, you were a lecturer for a living. You were a professor. And so
Oh,
basically every day for years, you had to present
I did.
every single day, and not just present, because presenting also involves controlling a room, controlling the audience, in your
Yes.
case
And
keeping it
engage with
engaging
people
engaging
constantly,
people,
hundreds
keeping
of them
them in
sometimes.
line, keeping them in line also, right? Right. And so, and I tell my friends all the time, I have a couple of friends. One of them is Alexis, another one is Tammy, Latrice.
Mhm.
Actually, several of my friends who are very good at speaking extemporaneously, right?
Yes.
I would not, though I can do it, I would not say, oh, that's my primary talent,
No.
right?
No. No.
And so, therefore, it is something that I have to work harder at. And there's nothing wrong with that. But shoot,
Yes.
given the choice, I'm like, you know what? Let me research it and let somebody else present it. But because sometimes I have to present it, then it takes more out of me. It takes more out of
Absolutely.
me. I
Absolutely.
feel exhausted. I come home and I just slide down the wall. Well, I do a wall slide as soon as I get home. However, I
And
will say that, sorry, that when I remember having to do a lot of presentations when I was, again, working for an all-inclusive in Barbados. I was a marketing officer.
mhm.
Obviously, a lot of presentations came along with that. A, I was younger. I had more energy. B, I was not being constantly criticized for existing. And so I was
No,
never showing up thinking, you sort of like feeling prejudged. And so my performance was very different.
at the
You
very
know what I
least,
mean?
you did not have to deal with existing while black in that context. And
Absolutely.
that is a huge thing. That is a
Mhm.
huge thing. And you
Yeah.
have to really name the double or triple taxation
Hmm.
of racism, neurodivergence, and introverted masking. But we will get to that another time. We'll get to that another time. Look out for an upcoming episode, people. You
Yes, yes.
know,
But you
but
did.
yes, I think it's really important to say that people will look at you, look at us, and they will say, "Oh, you've done this so well. You've showed up. You've presented excellently." But they're not seeing the cost, the depletion, the
Hmm.
absolute exhaustion. They're not seeing what it takes. We learn the behavior that is considered acceptable to get
Hmm.
ahead in our careers,
Yes.
but it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
It
And
comes at a cost.
it comes at a cost. And we bear in mind that we, like, almost everybody else, we are praised for showing up in an extroverted way. We're praised for what is for us overextending because it's not a natural affect for us. So we
Yes.
are praised for overextending. We're praised for maybe speaking a bit more loudly, maybe being a bit more boisterous, maybe being a bit more social and outgoing. But all of that is draining the freaking life.
So let us
And so
talk.
we're right. We're praised for something that it really is draining the life out of us, and
Yeah.
nobody is noticing because that's what is expected.
So let us talk a little bit about why we actually put ourselves through this. Why we as introverts mask. We have already talked a little bit about what it costs, but let's think about the messages that we get in society that
Mhm.
tell us that we have to be more extroverted in order to be successful, in order to be respected, in order to advance our careers, in order to be safe, and sometimes even in order to be loved,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Let
yeah.
us talk about that masking as a survival tactic. And
Well, let
bear
me.
in mind, for those of us with um, multiple identities, multiple intersectional identities, that is probably not the only way in which we have to mask,
Mhm, mhm.
right?
Exactly, because
Okay.
it definitely is harder, I think, for let's you mentioned just now, I think you said working while black. Is that what you
Yes.
said?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's what I said.
Working while black, right. And in the previous iteration of this podcast, I believe we had an episode called Introverting While Black, right?
Yes, I believe
And
we did.
that is a real thing. And because there is, intersectionality is real. And so there is pressure to appear extroverted. But then if you are traversing this world, navigating this world in melanated skin, the pressure is even greater and more layered and more nuanced. Because as Black women, it is even stronger. It is exponentially stronger because we are expected to be accommodating, to be the moms, if not the actual quote unquote mammies. We are expected
Yes.
to smile and be pleasant and be accommodating in all ways
And
at all times.
be
And to just
accessible, be
right.
accessible, be there for others while simultaneously abandoning
Yeah.
ourselves.
We're expected to be boundaryless. We're supposed to be like, constantly available to everybody at all times for anything, and to
Yeah.
just take whatever is dished out to us. And
And actually, now that you say that, sis, I think I had an episode on of my podcast, or maybe an article in my newsletter called "The Mammy Expectation." Right?
Yeah. So people go and look for that. What's the name of your podcast is?
Oh, my podcast is Sarn Minis. It's Sharon's anti-racism newsletter mini podcast.
Oh,
Short takes between 2 and 5 minutes on
love
the
it.
issues of the day.
Love it. Yeah. So people make sure and go and check that out. But yeah, introverting while black is a real thing, and we're supposed to appear warm and welcoming. There's this thing, out there on social media where, I've seen so many people say, if you're ever in danger, go and find a black woman. If you ever need help, go and find a black woman. And it's like, well, hold on, this is wonderful. And it's true, because honestly speaking, we're not going to abandon anybody. Even honestly speaking, and it's, I don't know if it's good or bad, even somebody that maybe has hurt us, we're not going to step over you in the street if you are in trouble. We will help you. We might help you and then walk away. Right?
Yeah.
We will call 911, make sure you have help, and then walk away if you've been harmful to us. But we will not leave you. I don't think that it is inherent in us to do that. But who is doing that for us?
Who is doing that
for us?
For us.
That really is the issue.
Let me just highlight this comment from Alexandra. Imagine to be asked to be extroverted, but also using a foreign language. Well, we've been there too.
Alexandra, I can only imagine it. Well, I do know a bit, but I can only
a little bit.
Yeah. A little bit, probably not as much as you, but imagine, I do know what it is like, especially if the other language you're speaking is not yet fully second nature. So you kind of have to do a lot of pre-thinking or translating on the fly. So it's not, your conversation and your responses are not instantly flowing. So somebody asks you something, you're processing, and your response is not as instant maybe as they might like. And they think, oh, why isn't this person talking to me? Because I'm translating in my head. And I'm trying to make sure I give you the right response. So Alexandra, we understand completely how that must be, And so, yes, thank you for sharing that, because people just don't know what others are dealing with and going through. Right? There's so many layers.
They don't.
And it is exhausting. And I just wish that more people showed more grace. And I would also like to throw something out there. I have had this said to me before that, which feels really annoying. Oh, I think that you're being fake because you smile too much, right? You're laughing too much or you're smiling too much. I'm like, so hold on. So if my face is at rest, I have RBF. Or I'm not friendly, or I'm too mysterious, or I'm not outgoing. If I smile too much or laugh too much, I'm being fake.
Yes.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It's not.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. It's not being fake.
We're trying.
Right. We're trying.
We're trying. We're trying to stay connected. We're trying to avoid rejection. I want to highlight a comment from Dr. Kathy here. There's a mask many of us learn to live behind. It helped us survive childhood, pain, and environments we didn't choose. But over time, it starts to harm us when we forget it's not who we really are. Yes, Dr. Kathy, thank you for this. We begin to perform life instead of living it. Ooh, that's a word there. Preach. And that's where exhaustion comes in, not from life, but from carrying something that no longer fits our truth. The turning point is when we realize the mask was never meant to become our identity. It was protection, not definition.
Ooh, yeah.
That is a whole word. That is a whole word. Thank you, Dr. Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for contributing that, because that really is it. The exhaustion that comes from basically not being authentic, not because you don't want to be, but you feel forced to not be. You feel forced to not be authentic, So that's it. And also because you and I and many others who are watching and listening, we live a good part of our lives out in public where we're visible.
Yes.
We're publicly visible, but often privately overwhelmed, but people don't see that. It's like, remember one of the episodes we did where we talked about, I think it might have been last episode, we talked about, the regulated introvert, right?
Yes,
But
yes, yes,
we had
yes.
a little bit of a crisis just before and had to regulate. Remember that? We
I
had to
remember that. I
regulate.
remember that.
Right, we had to regulate ourselves on the fly, but people don't see the behind the scenes. They don't know
No, they
what you're
don't.
going
They don't.
through. They don't know the weight and the struggle and the emotional labor that it takes to show up as the world expects you to. And
Mm.
so sis, what do you do? What do we do as introverts? What can one do as an introvert when you finally realize, wait, this is not working for me. This extroverted masking is costing too much. I
Yeah.
don't like it. It's not serving my highest good. It is not healthy for me. It is not healthy for my relationships. There are other options. What do we do? Where do we go?
But
How do we
before I even say that, let us just talk a little bit about recognizing that you have reached that point,
Oh yes.
because you will start to feel that dread of going into certain
Ooh,
spaces. You may feel numbness. You
yeah.
might be irritable. You might overthink everything that you do. You might shut down emotionally, right? And all of those.
All
And
of
so
the
it's
above.
very important for us to understand what is mere discomfort and what is actually
Mm,
misalignment.
yes.
Are you not wanting to do this thing for a different reason?
Yes.
Maybe you're afraid of it, or are you not doing it because you can feel that every fiber of your emotional being is revolting at the idea of doing it,
Right.
right?
Right. For
And
sure.
so what we then need to do is create spaces for ourselves where we can be the quiet people that we are, right?
Oh,
We
yes.
have to give ourselves permission,
Mm-hmm.
not to meet other people's expectations, such
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
leaving something early,
Oh, yes.
arriving at
You know,
something late.
you know,
I
you
struggle
know,
to arrive late. I struggle to arrive late, so I'm always going to take the leaving
you're
early.
leaving early.
Uh,
Right. Exactly.
Declining unnecessary obligations,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Allowing silence, allowing space to think,
Mm-hmm. Space to exhale, even.
space to exhale. Buy her book, buy her book. So, yes, let me bring up another comment from Sharon Fleshman. Welcome, Sharon. I went to a conference years ago when I was in my mid 20s and was introduced to a form of the Myers Briggs and learned about introversion. It changed my life and gave me language to
Mhm.
embrace who I was. Yes, agreed.
Same.
Not shy or aloof, but an introvert. Same, same, same. It took me a while after that to become comfortable in my own skin, but that was the start. Yes,
Mm.
I so relate to that. As flawed as Myers Briggs is in some ways, that revelation was important.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I
I
also said, oh, yeah, oh, oh, no, I'm not broken. I'm an introvert.
Yes. It was a
Right?
revelation for me. It was a
It
revelation. I
was,
was like,
yeah,
oh, I am perfectly fine. And there are other
yes,
people like me. There are
yes,
other people like me, and that's actually
yes,
one of the reasons why we do this work around introversion. And Sharon, you are going to be doing the Quiet Queens get together in London with Yinka, right? You're going to be doing
yes,
it with Yinka.
yes,
So,
yes, yes.
but this is why, right? It sounds like, oh, we're putting out a podcast and we're doing events, and yes, but also no and no. It's not just about the podcast. It's not just about the event. It's not just about Sharon has a lovely event coming up in Barbados, right? Which
Yes.
we actually just before we sign off,
We'll
we tell you about that.
about
It
both events, yes.
about but it is so much more than that, because we have lived what it feels like to feel excluded, and not only to feel excluded but to feel not at home in our own skin. And so once
Yes.
we learned about introversion, once we learned about Myers-Briggs, once we read the book Quiet, all of those things helped us feel greater self-love, greater self-acceptance, a greater self of community. And so we want what we've experienced. We want other introverts to experience that, because it gives you a greater sense of happiness and self-love. And who doesn't need more of that? So that's
Yeah.
what That's what all, the podcasts and the events, that's really what they're about. It's about healing. That is what they're
Yes.
about at their heart, right, sis?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is
Yeah.
about saying to everyone out there listening who
Mm-hmm.
is wondering why they're being made to feel bad about being quiet, you are okay as you are.
As you are.
There is a reason that you prefer quiet. It is
Mm-hmm.
not a flaw. And
Mm-hmm.
that personality always comes with strengths as well. It is
Absolutely.
okay. And so we hope to share our experience, give you tools, techniques, or just help you feel heard and seen. Because
Yeah,
sometimes that's all you need, right?
absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
we are introverts
Yes.
and we
So,
want
so
all
sis,
our fellow introverts to feel welcome in this space
in this space,
and
you
in
see,
all our spaces, which is a good transition into the two
but
events. So,
tell the
the
people
first
about the
event,
thing.
right, for anybody who is based in the UK, especially in around London, Yinka Iwola and I are doing the second of our Quiet Queens Network and Nourish events, an introvert affirming networking event. We held it last year, last September, and you would not believe that a room full of introverts could be so chatty, right? No forced icebreakers, right? We just let things develop organically, and it was beautiful. So we are doing it again June 25th in London, Central London. If you want information, drop QQ26 in the comments and I will be in touch to share the information. And also, as if one event were not enough, I'm doing the Still and Sovereign Retreat for Quiet Queens in Barbados in September 2026, 24th to 29th. Both of us are going to be there. And again, this was an event designed with introverts in mind. I've avoided overprogramming, lots of space in the day for you to have time to yourself. No double occupancy rooms. You're not forced to share with anyone, right? You can have quiet time. It's a beautiful location. And if you want to know about that, definitely drop in the comments the word still, or if we're connected, send me a DM. I will share all the details. And we have a couple of, so thank you for that. And since we're promoting things, buy Lisa's book, Space to Exhale, the multiple award winning book that helps you live a soft, serene, centered life. Did I get it right?
Yes, yes, indeed, sis. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. And I've also put the link for everyone who's interested in the Still and Sovereign Retreat in Barbados in September, where Sharon and I are going to be. The link is up on screen right now. It's Still Sovereign Retreat for Quiet Queens. So it's up on screen, or follow the instructions that Sharon gave that I right now can't remember because my brain. Listen, let me tell
That's
you,
all right.
menopause brain is not for the weak. Okay.
Right. Just before we wrap up, I'm just going to go to the comment.
Mhm.
Victoria says she always leaves early. Let's see, who is this LinkedIn user? That is Shauna. Says for some of us, especially minority women, the margin for acceptable behavior is narrow. Quiet is misread, and so is adapting. Where's the space to just exist? Oh, Shauna, we feel you. Have been there, and it's really, you know, we have to create that space where we can
Yeah.
and find ways to make our presence felt that doesn't deplete us.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
definitely something to talk about. And here we have Michelle Hilton. What if you're both extroverted but mostly introverted when living day to day? Introvert because it's exhausting to maintain. Oh, that's an interesting question. Are we talking here about ambiversion, perhaps? What do you
Maybe.
think?
Yeah, it could be, but I honestly, because the thing is even when I'm by myself, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
take away work, take away crowds, take away, other
Hmm.
people. even, by myself, I still enjoy quiet. I still
Yeah.
enjoy quiet. I still
Mm,
find, loud noises startling and too much. I don't like too much sensory input,
mm.
or, too many sensory stimuli. I think I still am basically introverted, and I get, I need a break. I need a break. I need
Yeah.
breaks frequently.
Yeah.
Even, and I know I say this almost every show, and this is my best example, that even after this show, right? And Sharon and I love spending time together. We love doing this show. We love each other, right? We love each other's company. And she and I are still going to need a break to recover after doing this. And so I think that for us, or for me, let me not speak for Sharon, for me, I think that I am introverted as opposed to being an ambivert. But there are
Yes.
probably some people for whom what you are suggesting is true. That
Hmm.
maybe some people are extroverted but introverted when living day to day. That is definitely a possibility. And there's one
Yes.
more comment here, Sharon. Do you want to put it up?
Ah, yes. Dr. Kathy, welcome back. We are mothers, fathers, and children, but we are not meant to carry lifelong roles that erase our boundaries. No is also a choice, and it is a healthy one. Many are called, but few choose to align. This is not
Mm,
separation, it is awareness. Dr. Kathy is preaching today. We
yes.
all have purpose, but it is our choice to respond to it and live it fully. Exhaustion comes when we live behind a mask, carrying what was never meant to define us. What is not in alignment will always feel heavy over time. Ah,
Mm.
oh man, you're bringing the insights today, Dr. Kathy. Thank you for
Yes, Dr.
that.
Kathy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is amazing.
Right, and
It's very
so
true.
as we move swiftly towards towards the end of the show, having overrun as per usual. Do
Expeditiously.
you expeditiously? Do you have a loud opinion for our quiet minds, loud opinions segment, sis?
I have a loud opinion that I want to share actually with people who are extroverts. And I have extroverted friends, right? I have
As do
extroverted
I.
friends, and but they are extroverted friends who have emotional intelligence, right? And so I would like, my loud opinion is for other extroverts to listen to shows like this. If you have, introverted friends and people in your lives, if you have um, people on your teams who sound, based on our description, who sound like people that we've described or who sound like us, um, learn a bit more, listen to podcasts like ours, and be a bit more sensitive, be a bit more understanding, and try not to force everyone into one mold, right? We talk about needing diverse workplaces and a diverse world. And so, therefore, allow us to be that. Let the
Yes.
diversity be, including diversity of personality types. And so, let introverts be introverts. That's my loud
Oof.
opinion.
Yes.
What about you, sis?
Yes, yes, yes. I co-sign. I co-sign. I'm just going to move straight on to my closing reflection. But before
Right.
I do, I just want to say thank you all for joining us live or team replay. We really appreciate you here. And I am going to say that if showing up in the world requires abandoning yourself every day, the answer is not to become louder. The answer may be to become more honest. You deserve relationships, work, and spaces and lives, in fact, where your nervous system can soften. What's your
Mm.
closing thoughts, sis?
And mine is that we as introverts we don't need to earn our place through overperformance. And, to any introverts out there who are listening, you don't owe anybody a louder version of yourself. And to extroverts, you don't, um, you should not be demanding of anyone a louder version or more extroverted version of themselves, right? So I wish for everyone that this week will bring you more honesty, more space to exhale, more alignment, and more permission to be exactly who you are. And with that, thank you again to everybody who has tuned in, Team Live and Team Replay. Thank you so much, and we will see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.